Please be seated. We are back on the record in calls number 94-030-9328, the state of Texas, Mr. Daniel Villegas. We are back from our morning break. Ms. Butterworth, Mr. Montoya, please call your next witness.
Thank you, Judge. At this time, the state calls David Rangel.
Sir, you have been sworn. Please be seated.
Yes, sir.
For the record, I will need your name. I need you to spell your last name, please.
Spell my last name, sir.
I need your name, but spell your last name.
First name is David, last name is Rangel, Rangel.
Ms. Butterworth.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Rangel.
Good morning.
My name is Denise Butterworth. I'm an assistant DA with the DA's office. You and I have never met on this case before. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. I'd like to ask you a few questions this morning, and if at any point you don't understand my question, do me a favor and let me know, and ask me to ask it a different way, and let me know that I'm confusing you. Fair enough?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it okay to then assume that if you answer my question, you understood it?
Correct.
Is that fair? Okay. Mr. Rangel, you are related to the defendant in this case. Is that correct?
Yes, I am.
You are his cousin?
Correct.
And so can you tell us how it is that you are his cousin?
I am his cousin. Our mothers are sisters.
Okay, so your mom and his mom are sisters?
Correct.
And do they both live here in El Paso?
Yes, they do.
Okay. Do you know what their age difference is?
About 2 years.
Okay. So they're not twins?
No.
They look a lot alike, would you agree?
Yes, they do.
Okay, so they're not twins. I won't even ask you who's older or younger. Do you have any brothers and sisters?
I do. I have a younger sister.
Okay, what is her name?
Her name is Andrea.
Andrea. Okay. Did you grow up here in El Paso?
I did.
Okay. With your mom?
Correct.
All right. And the defendant grew up here in El Paso, is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Did you all, is it fair to say that you all grew up together?
Yes.
Were you close when you were younger to the defendant?
Yes, we were.
Can you tell me his mother, what is her name?
Her name is Yolanda Villegas.
Okay. And Daniel is one of her sons. Does she have any other children as well?
She does. She has a son and a daughter.
Okay. What is the son's name?
His name is Prisciliano. Full name?
Prisciano would work.
Okay.
And the daughter?
Michelle.
Michelle. And when you were growing up, did you grow up here in El Paso your whole life?
I did.
Okay. You're not living here anymore, is that correct?
No, I'm not living here.
Where do you live now?
I live in San Diego, California.
And how long have you lived in San Diego?
Almost 14 years.
Okay. So, grew up here in El Paso and then moved to San Diego, is that correct? All right. How old are you now, sir?
I'm 42.
What do you do in San Diego?
I'm a real estate professional.
A real estate professional?
Correct.
Okay. And are you married?
I am not.
Okay. Any children?
No, ma'am.
All right. So you grew up in El Paso. Your mom is sisters with Yolanda Villegas, the
Correct.
defendant's mother.
Yes.
Are they close sisters?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I want to take you back, Mr. Rangel, to April of 1993. All right. How old were you back then?
I was 17.
Okay. Were you going to school?
Yes.
Where did you go to school?
I went to school at Del Valle High School.
Okay. What year would you have been in high school back then when you were 17 in 93?
Like what grade?
Correct.
11th.
11th grade. So you were a junior.
Correct.
Is that correct? Did you finish high school?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Okay.
Got my GED.
Okay. And where were you living back in April of 1993?
With my mother.
Okay. And where was that?
That was in the Lower Valley, 8140 Tierra Verde.
Give me the address again.
8140 Tierra Verde.
Tierra Verde. And it's in the Lower Valley.
It is.
Okay. So you lived in the Lower Valley and you went to Del Valle High School.
Correct.
All right. Tell me a little bit about yourself. What was David Rangel like back in April of 1993?
A little bit about myself. Just, it's so long ago, I'm trying to place myself back
That's
then.
fair enough. That would be a tough question for anyone to answer. It's almost unfair. Were you a good kid?
I was a good kid.
junior in high school. Were you working back then?
I believe if I remember correctly, I may have had a job or two back then.
Okay, so like most of us, part-time
Part-time.
job while you went to high school?
Part-time.
Okay. What is the age difference between you and the defendant?
We're about close to about a year apart.
Okay, and who's older?
I am.
Okay. All right. I want to talk to you, Mr. Rangel, about the statement that you gave to the El Paso Police Department back on April 21st of 1993, okay? In this particular statement, or back in April of 1993, did you tell the El Paso Police Department that the defendant told you that he committed this shooting?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about that. When he told you he did this, was this a conversation that you had in person with him or over the telephone?
With the detective?
With the defendant. Let's talk about when he told you he did this. That's my question right now.
Oh, with the defendant.
When
over the
he
phone.
told you he did this, was it in person or was it over the phone?
Over the phone.
And do you remember who called who?
I believe I called him that
Okay.
particular day.
And do you remember what day it was
No,
that
ma'am.
this conversation took place?
It was probably during the week.
Okay. Have you had since we've never met before, have you had an opportunity, Mr. Rangel, to look at the written statement that you gave back on April 21st of 1993?
I've had
Okay.
a chance to glance over it.
How recently?
Probably in the past couple days.
Okay. If at any point, since I think we're all in agreement here that our memories were better back then than they are now, if
Correct.
at any point you want to look at this statement, all you need to do is ask me, can I see my statement to refresh my memory?
Thank you.
Fair enough?
Sure.
I have a copy ready. Would it help to refresh your memory, to look at your statement, to tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury the day this conversation took place?
Yes.
All right. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes, Your Honor.
May the record reflect I'm showing defense counsel the statement by Mr. Rangel dated 4/21/93.
Okay, yeah, I believe you gave two statements, Your Honor.
I'll take them all up there. And he can have them. Mr. Rangel, I'm going to leave these for you. Do you recognize these two statements? Let's start there.
Roughly, yes.
Okay. And this first statement is a typed statement. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And it contains, is this your signature? I'm sorry to reach over you. Is this your signature on the second page?
It is.
All right. And the other statement that we're going to talk about is a handwritten statement. Is that correct?
Correct.
And the handwriting, whose handwriting is that?
That isn't mine.
Okay. And that is also dated 4/21 of 1993.
Correct.
Okay. So these are going to be here available. I'm going to leave them up here. If you need to refresh your memory to look at those during my questions.
Thank you.
Okay, so the question I was asking right now is, do you remember the date that this conversation took place? And if you need a second to look at your statement.
Between my cousin and I, correct?
Correct.
It says Wednesday, April the 14th, 1993.
Okay, so on Wednesday, April the 14th of 1993, you called your cousin.
Yes.
What was the purpose of calling him?
Usually when I called him, it was more of to see what he was doing over the weekend.
Okay,
Since I lived in the Lower Valley, I would sometimes visit my family.
okay.
Oh,
Okay, and so there's no way we would have remembered this now, but on the statement back then, it's saying Wednesday, that this was a conversation that happened on Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay? Is that what that says?
yes.
All right. So you call him, and what does he tell you regarding this incident?
What does he tell me regarding the incident?
Yes, sir.
From what I remember, what he told me was when we initially were speaking, we were just more of shooting the breeze, and then I think the conversation came up just because it was pretty popular in El Paso during that time. Usually when there was any kind of activity, we would talk about things because sometimes we knew people that may have been hurt. And so this particular conversation, I don't remember how exactly it came up, but then we started discussing it.
Okay. And what did he tell you?
He told me, guess who did it? And
Okay.
I don't know who. And then he said, well, guess. And I'm like, I have no idea. And so we kind of went back and forth a few times, and then he says, I did it. And so during this conversation, I could hear Marcos Gonzalez laughing in the background while he was discussing this.
Okay. So he says, I did it, and do you ask him or follow up why?
I did.
Okay. And what does he say next?
I think my memory serves correct, he recognized a couple of kids from Boomerangs.
From Boomerangs?
Correct.
What is Boomerangs?
Boomerangs back then was a movie theater, kind of like a teenage hangout in the Northeast.
Okay. So he tells you he recognized some of them from Boomerangs.
Correct.
Does he tell you what they're doing?
That I don't remember.
Okay. Do you remember saying that they were throwing ECH?
Vaguely, yes.
Okay.
That sounds familiar.
He tells you they were throwing ECH. What, and it looks like here you say ECH are the Eisenhower Crazy Hoods.
Okay.
Is that correct?
That sounds about right, correct.
Okay. And then what does he tell you next? How does he tell you he does this?
He told me that he confronted them and approached them and shot them with a shotgun.
Let me back up. He says, does he tell you that he recognizes one of the guys?
I believe so. I
And
believe
who-
he recognized, according to the conversation, I believe it was Armando.
Okay. In your statement, he calls him Mondo. Do you need to look at your statement?
If it says in the statement,
Okay. So,
that sounds about right.
all right, in April of 1993, you were telling the El Paso Police Department that your cousin told you he recognized one of the guys as Mondo. Is that correct?
Your Honor, I'm object leading.
It's not past leading questions. If you need to rephrase your question, the questions before you now, Mr. President.
Can you tell me the name of the individual that your cousin told you he recognized?
The full name or?
What you put in your statement, the name of how he calls him.
Mondo.
And does he tell you his last name?
No.
All right. So he tells you he recognizes Mondo, and what does he say happens?
We spotted Mondo walking with a group of friends down the street.
Okay. And what happens when he sees them walking down the street?
They threw gang signs to one another.
Okay. And then what happens next?
But he comes back around.
He comes back around. So he passes them, turns around, and goes back to them.
Correct.
That's what he told you.
According to the statement, yes.
Okay, that is what he told you.
Yes, if it's on the statement, yes.
All right. What you told the detectives in the statement, were you telling the truth then?
Correct.
Okay. So he tells you he passes them and goes back around. Does he tell you who exactly did the shooting?
He said he did.
Okay. Did you ask him if anybody else shot?
He said he was the only one who shot.
Okay. Tell me how he explains the shooting to you, Mr. Rangel.
How he explained it was, I guess when he recognized the people when they came back around, he stepped outside of the car and he blasted them with a shotgun.
Okay. Does he tell you that when he did the shooting, he meant to shoot Mondo,
Yes.
but missed and hit the guy next to him?
Yes.
Okay, so he meant to shoot Mondo, but hit the guy right next to him.
Yes.
Yes? So then what does he tell you he does at that point?
He shot again.
Okay. And when he shot again, what happened? Does he hit Mondo that time?
He said that he saw Mondo go down.
All right. And after Mondo goes down, what does the defendant tell you happens next?
From my memory, I remember he said that he didn't go down, and so he chased him and blasted him with a shotgun afterward.
Okay, so he saw Mondo go down, and then Mondo got up and began to run.
Correct.
Okay, that's what you say.
That's what I'm remembering as well.
Okay, is that in the statement as well? That Mondo went down, then he got up and began to run.
Yes.
Okay, and we're all in agreement that your memory would have been better back then as far as specific details. Is
Correct.
that fair?
Correct.
Okay. Do you ask him, why don't you stop there? Did you ask your cousin that?
He said that Mondo, according to this, that Mondo recognized him, and or he recognized him. That's what he said.
And he couldn't leave him as a witness.
Correct.
So what does he tell you happens next?
Chased him to a house and shot him again.
Okay. Chased him to a house and shot him again. All right. I'm going to stop you for a second. Who does the defendant tell you that he's with when this happens?
Marcos Gonzalez.
And is it just the defendant and Marcos Gonzalez, or does he tell you he's with other people?
I believe he only said he was with Marcos. It was only he and Marcos Gonzalez.
Okay. Can you do me a favor and look at your statement again? Do you remember telling back then that the defendant told you that he was with Marcos Gonzalez and some other homeboys from Villani?
Where does that say that?
I'm right here on that first page, around right here.
On the first page?
Yes, sir. May I approach the witness?
Yes, you may.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Do you remember that?
I don't remember that, but it says it here.
Okay. And you're saying that this was the truth, what you were telling the detectives back then?
Correct.
Okay. So he tells you he's with the defendant and Marcos Gonzalez. Who is Marcos Gonzalez?
Marcos Gonzalez was a close friend of ours from our childhood.
And he was with other homeboys from Villani. What is Villani?
Villani was a gang. Well, I don't know if it still is, but was a gang back then.
Okay. What does it stand for? What did it stand for?
I believe it stood for Varia Northeast, if I'm not mistaken.
So he's with Marcos Gonzalez and other homeboys with Villani. Is that correct?
Correct.
And is he part of Villani?
Currently or back then?
Back then.
Back then, he hung out with him, yes.
Okay. Was he a member of Villani?
I believe so.
So he tells you that they were throwing gang signs, ECH specifically, Eisenhower Crazy Hoods. And he and Marcos Gonzalez, was he also Villani?
Yes.
And other homeboys from Villani. Is that correct?
That's
Are
what
together.
That's what it says here, yes.
Okay. Does he tell you about the car that they're in?
If I remember, it was a black car.
Does he tell you anything else about the car? Whose car it was?
I don't know whose black car it was. I don't know if it states it. I'm not seeing it here.
So you don't remember whose car he's telling you that
No.
is, other than it's a black car?
Correct.
Did your cousin have a black car back then?
No.
Did Marcos have a black car back then?
No.
All right. And then he's not identifying the other homeboys from B&E that he's with, is that correct?
According to the statement, yes.
Okay. I'm going to back up for a second. When the defendant is telling you this over the phone, did you know back in 1993, I know you know a lot more now, but back in 1993, did you know any of those four boys that were involved? Did you know Armando Lazo?
No.
Mando?
No.
Did you know Robert England?
No.
Who went by Bobby?
I did not.
Did you know Juan Medina?
No.
And did you know Jesse Hernandez?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so you didn't know any of these individuals?
No.
But the defendant tells you he knew or recognized Mondo
Correct.
and calls him Mondo.
According to this, yes.
Let's talk about the defendant's friends at the time of April 1993. You said that Marcos Gonzalez was a friend of the defendant's. Is that correct?
Correct.
And can you, as best as you can, give me a description of what he looked like back in April of 1993?
Marcos Gonzalez?
Yes, sir.
Probably about 5'8", 5'9", lanky, tan skin.
Okay. Is it fair to say you would call him a darker tan skin?
Like indigenous.
Okay. Were you familiar with Rodney Williams?
Yes.
And was he one of your cousin's friends back in April of 1993?
Yes.
Was he also a member of B&E?
That I don't think so, but I'm not 100%.
You don't know one way or the other?
No.
Okay.
I don't think he was, but I'm not 100%.
Okay. Can you describe as best as you can Rodney Williams back in April of 1993?
His physical features?
Yes, sir, please.
African American. Was probably about 6 foot, 6'1", thick.
Okay. And then we're seeing your cousin now today, but do me a favor if I were to ask you to also physically describe him back in April of 1993. How would you describe him?
Skinny. He's probably about 5'7", 5'8" at the time. Hair combed back, light complected.
Okay. Light complected. All right. So we have Marcos Gonzalez, who has darker indigenous skin, Rodney Williams, who was African American,
Correct.
and your cousin, who was light complected.
Yes.
Okay. I want you to do me a favor and look at your statement, the typed written one that I have in front of you. Do you see that right above your signature, Mr. Rangel? Is that your signature? You testified it was, correct?
Yes.
Do you see the words, "I have read the above statement consisting of 2 pages, and even though it is not in my exact words, I find it to be true and correct to the best of my knowledge"? Do you see those words?
Yes.
Okay. I want you to tell me a little bit about, let's talk about where this statement was taken. The statement was given to Detective Alfonso Marquez.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Tell me about where you were when this statement was taken.
The statement was taken, I believe, in 5 Points, which is the headquarters.
Okay. And when you're giving, I know we've talked about this before, but when you're giving this statement, are you sitting at a computer? I guess they had computers back then, but were you sitting at the computer typing it out?
No.
How did that work?
Well, the way it worked was, I guess, Mr. Detective Marcus, I had been there for a few hours, and this statement was actually my second statement.
Okay, and we'll talk about that. I'm just asking, how is it that this is getting onto the paper? You're saying that this is true?
Detective Marcus it's mostly true.
And we'll go through that. I know
Okay.
there's one thing that you keep wanting to say shotgun, and we're going to talk about that. Is everything else true except for the shotgun part?
From my knowledge, correct. But
Okay.
I know the detective at the time, he had me writing something out as he was filling this out, so.
Is this true, Mr. Rangel?
What is?
This statement, that everything that we've just gone through so far, is that true?
From my recollection, yes.
That is what the defendant told you?
Correct.
Okay. Where are you sitting when the detective is typing up this information that you're giving him?
I believe I wasn't too far away from him. I was sitting at a table.
Okay. Are you in a cubicle?
I don't remember a cubicle. Again, the situation was super stressful, and so some of it kind of jumbles up with each other.
Okay. He's at a computer.
Correct.
So wherever he is, there's a computer
Yes.
that he's using.
Yeah, I remember him typing. Yes.
Okay. You can't tell us that it was at his cubicle.
I couldn't recognize if it was his cubicle or someone else's cubicle. I just know that I was in that particular substation.
Okay. In a cubicle?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
Okay. Are you in a closed room with a closed door?
It was a room we were in a room by ourselves, so it was just he and I,
Okay.
and we were in a closed room.
It is a closed room?
I
With a
believe it was-
computer?
I believe it was closed. Again, I can't really tell you 100%. It was so long ago. I know we were in a room. I couldn't tell you if it was a big room, a small room, a personal office, a conference room, but I remember being in a room.
Okay. And he's typing as you give him this information?
Correct.
All right. So let's talk about the last portion of this statement, and then I'll let you qualify it to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury. When this statement is typed, it says that the defendant was not specific about the type of gun used. Are you following me here in your statement?
Yes.
I have been asked if I know what kind of gun or weapon was used in the killing, and I don't know. This statement's saying he did not tell you what kind of gun was used. Is that correct?
The statement is saying that.
This statement says that.
Correct.
And it says, I'm asked about it, and I don't know what kind of gun or weapon was used in the killing.
That's what it says.
That's what this statement says.
That's what the statement says.
Okay. Let's look at your first statement. Talk to me about how that first statement happened.
How this first statement? Well,
yes.
This would technically be my second statement.
Okay.
There was another statement that I filled out that Detective Marcus didn't agree with, so he threw away.
Okay. So between this written statement and this handwritten statement, which one of these came first?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember which one came first?
I don't.
Okay. This handwritten statement, I think you've identified was in your handwriting. Is that correct?
Yes, that is my handwriting.
All right. And this is beginning to say what the defendant told you. Is that correct?
In the handwritten statement?
In the handwritten statement.
Correct.
It's the defendant telling you that he had shot two guys from ECH, that he passed by and recognized one of them, and that they had thrown the gang signs.
Correct.
Is that correct? My cousin then shot one and saw the other running. Is this your writing?
Form of the question?
Ask direct questions, Ms.
Is there anything that's in this statement that is not contained in this handwritten statement?
The part where he's dragged up?
Yes, tell me about that. What information is in this statement that's not contained in the typewritten statement?
That
Do
he was-
you ask your cousin, have you thought about this? Like, what do you think about this?
If I remember correctly, he said he was drunk.
He was... He said he was too drugged at the time to think about it. Is that what that says?
That's what it says.
And is this true also? Is everything in this statement true?
From what I remember, yes.
Okay, so you ask him about that, and that's how he responds.
Correct.
Have you thought about this? I was too drugged to think about it. Is that correct?
Correct.
And this is true?
Mostly, yes.
Okay. This is in your handwriting. Is it fair, would you agree with me, Mr. Rangel, that this typewritten statement gets a lot more into the details of what the defendant told you what happened than this handwriting statement?
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Yes.
This is a cursory summary, and then this is more detailed.
Okay.
Do you remember did you do the handwriting first and then follow up with the typewritten, or you don't remember?
I don't remember. I do remember Detective Marcus typing on the computer. Again, I don't remember which one came first.
Okay. Would you agree with me, Mr. Rangel, that in the handwritten statement, there is nothing about a shotgun? Would you agree with me on that statement?
Yeah, Mr. Marcus told me to omit.
Okay, just listen to my question. I'm going to let you tell, I promise. Would you agree with me that there's nothing about a shotgun in this statement?
Yes.
Okay. And would you agree with me that in your typewritten statement, above where you sign, it says, he was not specific about the gun that was used. I have been asked if I know what kind of gun or weapon was used in the killing, and I don't know. That is contained in this statement.
That's what Marcus put in there.
Okay.
Correct.
So this statement is happening in April of 1993, April 21st of 1993. Would you agree with that?
Yes, that's what
All
the
right.
date says.
I promise I'm going to let you talk about the shotgun. I just want to ask a few questions, and then we're going to go there.
Sure.
In April 21st of 1993, you give this statement to the El Paso Police Department, and you're telling us it is true. Is that correct?
Correct.
Your cousin is arrested later that day. Do you know that? Or
Yes.
did you find that out?
I found that out.
Okay. So on April 21st of 1993, the same day that you gave this information to the police, your cousin is arrested. And after he's arrested, I can only assume, but I want you to tell me the reaction that is had by his family when they find out that it was your information that led to his arrest. How did his family react to that?
I wasn't there when the family reacted.
In general, this is as even up to today. Let's talk about 1993.
Is that speculation, Your Honor?
Answer only if you have personal knowledge of what the question is.
I don't, sir.
Back in 1993, how did his family react? Your aunt, it's your mom's sister, how did they react when they found out that you had given this information to the police?
I wasn't there when that was found out,
Okay.
but we were still together afterwards, so again, I couldn't tell you.
Okay? You were not treated any differently by his family or by him when they found out that it was your information that led to his arrest?
No, we would still hang out together afterward.
I want to make sure, because I find this incredulous, I want to make sure that you're telling this jury that there was no reaction by his family, by his mother, your aunt, when they found out that he was arrested based on the information that you gave to the El Paso Police Department.
There may have been a reaction, but I wasn't there, so I couldn't tell you what the reaction was.
I'm not asking you the day he was arrested. I'm telling you in general at that time frame. How did they react to knowing this, finding out about this?
Well, again, like I'm telling you, we were still together afterward.
So they loved you and hugged you and embraced you and thanked you.
I'm going to object. Argumentative.
Sustained.
You're going to tell this jury there was no reaction.
I couldn't say that if there was no reaction, but again, I'm telling you, our family's pretty tight, so we were still with each other after the fact.
What was their reaction when they found out that you gave this information to the police department?
I wasn't there, I don't know.
I'm not saying that day. In the time that
Would you like to
progressed,
ask and answer an argumentative?
Yes, that answer is sustained.
At some point, you have, after you gave this statement to the police department, at some point in 1994, after some time had passed, this is April of 93, at some point in December of 1994, did you have an opportunity to be asked some questions about this and give some more information regarding this?
I don't remember. 1994, that was 18, going to be 19, so I don't remember.
Okay. At some point, listen to me carefully, Mr. Rangel. At some point, were you questioned again and had the opportunity to talk about this again in December of 1994?
I'm drawing a blank. Again, it's been a long time. I don't remember the specific December of 94.
Okay. Try not to be specific about my date then. At some point, did you have an opportunity to be asked and questioned about this information and the way that this statement was taken after it happened, about a year after it happened, after your cousin was arrested?
Again, I don't remember.
May we approach?
Approach. I'm kicking you out, but I'm actually doing it with a reward. We're going to take our lunch break now. It's not going to be downstairs. It's going to be a little bit down the road, but I'm pretty sure you guys are going to like the place. And then at some point later on, should we still be in trouble tomorrow, you guys can tell me whether you want to go downstairs for yourselves. You're not to read any newspaper articles, listen to any radio broadcast, or view any television programs which will discuss this case. I need you back in your jury room by 1:15. Every time we'll continue the trial of this case.
All rise.
Please be seated. Records reflect the jury is currently outside the courtroom. Court is still on the record before we break. Mr. Rangel?
Yes, sir.
We need to talk. You've done a good job so far with regard to the instructions that I've given you, and so has both parties. What we're talking about now is the trial we can't mention.
I wasn't sure if that was what she was trying to allude to, but because
And so I think there's going to be situations when we're talking about something in 1994, 95, and I think 2011. So when they mentioned, did you have an opportunity? Do you remember being questioned? Do you remember explaining? And they're talking about 94, 95, or maybe 2011. It's the other hearings that were held that the juries should not be privy to.
Was 1994 the first trial?
Yes, I believe so. And I think 95 was the second. And I think 2011 was the biggest course. And so we took the jury out so that we didn't get in a situation where being frustrated and confused, you said something. I think we're going to take a lunch break at this point, but that's when she's talking about those things, she's not trying to confuse you. But she knows she can't mention it.
And that's why I didn't, after your instructions, you said don't bring it up, so I couldn't say, what, is that the first trial? So I didn't say anything.
Exactly, but when she's asking you about that, she's talking about the first trial of the 74. She's talking about 2011, which is the red, and where you may have testified again and given more testimony.
Okay.
She may or may not put your transcript in front of you when we come back. I'm not sure, but thank you for continuing with my instruction. But this is what we're taking the jury on, just to, abundance of caution and really get to the lecture.
Thank you.
Anything else we need to do before we take the lecture?
No, thank you.
We'll stand in recess till 1:15.